Oh my goodness. Does this mean what I think it means? You are ready to paint. You have colored penciled all of your objects in the foreground and maybe a little bit in the midground. Now you are ready for tempera paint in the background. Hooray! You've come a long way. Let's get set up. Hello, good friend, the messy mat. Please get yourself a messy mat. Carry the messy mat to your table. Put your art on top of the messy mat. All paint and everything you're going to be using go on this messy mat. You can be a stand-up painter and push your chair in and stand behind it, or you can be a sit-down painter. You decide. Okay, next we need our paintbrushes, conveniently located by the sink. To the left of the sink, I will set out the paintbrushes that you can use. Today, we're going to be using the red ones and the clear ones. When choosing paintbrushes, you're going to want fat brushes and skinny brushes. After you use the paintbrush, it just lives in the paint pot. Speaking of the paint, here it is now. The paint is located on the paint cart. Rainbow colors on the top shelf, neutrals on the middle shelf, and at the very bottom, you're going to see a container. Don't go in there. Please, I'm begging you. Leave it alone. Thank you. Okay, I've got my 2 colors of paint, and that's the maximum you can have at your table at one time. I carefully scrape my brush on the side of the paint pot. I'm moving everything onto the messy mat. That lid that's right there, it should be on the paint cart, not over on the table. Sorry about that. So I start at the top. Repeat that. I start at the top, and then I paint paint down until I meet the foreground. So I'm doing the background. And what do we know about the background? The way background is blurry. It's not super dark. It's like foggy and muted, and that makes it look far away. You don't have to touch the paintbrush. I'm just getting it uncrusty for getting started. I realized that the brush I was using was too big to get into my tiny details. For teeny tiny details to get into little tiny spots, what do you think? Use a tiny brush. You're right. I slowly keep on painting. I go super slow. I am trying to be careful. I am smoothing out the paint. I am leaving no blobs and globs on my picture. I'm holding the paintbrush almost perpendicular to the paper. And now I am ready for the next color in my beautiful sky. Notice I'm being super careful with the scraping off of the paintbrush. I want to make sure I'm not tapping the paintbrush. I call that the tappy tappy, because when you do the tappy tappy, you get the paint on your neighbor's art, and that is no bueno. You don't want to do that. You'll feel bad. So I carefully scrape off, scrape off. This paper is super cool for colored pencils. However, you have to be careful because you don't want too much paint on the paper. So you do really, really scrape it careful. You'll notice I left the clouds white because I'm going to paint those later. Now I think I'm going to need a new color. So I take back one of my paint pots and I get my next color. I leave the paintbrush in it for the next artist to use. I get a new paintbrush for this paint pot because there wasn't one in there. I picked a teeny tiny brush for the orange. Though it sounds like I'm scraping my brush, tapping my brush. I'm actually scraping it. It just sounds like a tap when I'm scraping the metal on the side of the paint pot. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Oh, when you want to make a new color, you can paint one color over the other one on your paper. This is a trick that works really great, and that way you don't mess up all of the big paint pots. We never change the color in the paint pot, but we do change it on our paper. There's a reason for this. The reason is that we're using such small paintbrushes that when it goes back into the big paint pot, it's okay if it has another color on it. It's just going to stir off and not be a big deal. But if we pour paint pots into each other and mix inside of the paint pot, then it kind of gets muddy and messes it up for everyone. So please keep the color mixing on your paper. Thank you. Okay, now I sped up the painting video so it goes quicker. So you don't have to watch every single detail. But basically I'm trying to fix up my sky, make it look pretty, and then I am there. So now I'm ready to do the ocean. Uh-oh, I have 3 paint pots. Time to put one back. Okay, I'm going to start with white, keep it light, and that's a trick for everything. Colored pencils, paint, everything. If you start with the light, you can get it right. Just like when we're sketching. So I'm going to do the white in the ocean, the waves and all that stuff. And then I'm going to get darker and darker. Well, not too dark, but you know, oceany. Okay, here we go with some beautiful blue. Blue ocean, blueby, 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 blue, blue, blue. You might notice I'm leaving like a little shape there. That's going to be a rock later. I could have colored it in with colored pencil, but I wanted to make it dark and kind of like in the background, so I'm going to use the paint for it. I like to use a lot of like repeating lines or brush strokes in my painting. So you'll see me, I'll go from one side to the other using similar lines and color. And it kind of makes this cool texture. You hear me talking the elements of art? You're right, I am. So, and when I overlap them and make them, put the white in there and stuff, then I get different values. Another great elements of art. Values are the light and the dark. You notice how I painted the white first. It's making that blue look light blue. Okay, here I go. Now I'm trying to get that beach on there. If there's ocean, you hope there's some beach. So I go carefully around their heads, and I'm using a yellow, but I know that yellow is not actually the color of our sand. And you might see over on the side, you're like, oh, Teacher Tara has purple in there too. Yep, I'm going to use purple and yellow and mix them together because they are called complementary colors. Everybody say complementary. Complementary colors are colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. And guess what? When you mix them together, guess what they do? They neutralize. Everybody say neutralize. This means that they turn into a natural color. And natural colors are like shades of brown. So I take the purple, I scrape the brush, and I start to go very slowly on top of the yellow and hope that I'm going to have a good color brown. Hey, it worked. It's like the brown sand. The color of the sand is kind of grayish white brown. I like it. Kind of reminds me of the driftwood and the logs you see. Holy guacamole, I'm almost done. So I'm going to paint that rock purple. And then I'm going to put like a little shadow in the water because you always see like the reflection in the water. And then I'm going to add some dark chocolate brown to it for like just some rhythm and movement in there. Yay, I'm almost done. I'm loving this picture. Next, I'm going to finish off the clouds and then call it quits. Tomorrow, I'll look at my picture again and see, hey, what did I miss? What do I need to change? What do I need to add? And you may be doing the same thing. Catch you later. I'm doing the clouds just like I thought. And then I think, oh my gosh, they look too white. And so then I add a little bit of the sky back into them just by moving the brush into the sky. And then I put a little white to make the ocean look wavy because, you know, surfers got to have some waves. Okay, the top of Max's hair. Okay, something about that whole part of the painting has been giving me problems. So I'm using the back of my brush to just like draw some lines back in there and get rid of some of the paint. You can flip your brush around and do that too. It makes a cool texture. Okay, surf's up. Gotta go. Gotta go to the coast. Talk to you later.